Hey guys, it's Selwen here. Now, as some of you might know, in the next upcoming patch, 8.1 Tides of Vengeance, a new Warfront will be available to play called The Battle for Darkshore. And I know it's a type of content nobody really cares about, but there is a couple of things to talk about here, so let's go together to figure out if this is just a complete reskin of the Stormguard Warfront, or does it offer some improvements. Now, before we actually get to the Warfront itself, let's talk a little bit about the setup for the Warfront, as there is some content here that leads to it, essentially a story setup of quests to why we're fighting in Darkshore in the first place, which is actually quite cool. So for the Alliance, you get the fancy questline not only about Darkshore, but also about Tyrande, becoming a Night Warrior. Now, I don't want to delve too much into this due to spoilers, but it's a questline that you should get the minute you log in when the patch comes out. It is not a requirement to unlock the Warfront, but will set you up for it, explaining why the hell the zone is all dark and gloomy, why the giant cool-looking moon, plus unlock a new customization option for Night Elves, this sort of black eyes that is symbolizing that you now know to be a Night Warrior. So make sure to get that done, even if it's just for the customization or the storyline, which is pretty cool except for the ending, which kind of falls apart a little bit. Now, the Horde also has a set of quests around Darkshore. It is not as long or as important, but this set of quests are also setting you up for it, explaining what the hell is going on in the zone. But what's cool about it is that both questlines have the same ending depending on what faction you play, or if you play both, you will see both perspectives on how you get there, which I found to be rather neat, even though what happens there again is rather dumb. But anyway, on to the Warfront itself. How do you access it and how does it work together with the current Warfront? Well, they will both run at the same time, both accessed in the same place, in the same table. When the patch comes out, the Alliance will have immediate access to it, no contribution or anything like that, which I assume is to immediately follow that important Tyrande questline. But taking that first week aside, the cycles will remain the same, and the contributions will run side to side with the Stormguard Warfront. The way it was explained is that they will work much like the Broken Shore buildings, where you will have a choice to contribute to either Darkshore or Stormguard. If you can contribute to both and receive double the Azeroth rewards from the turn-ins, it's not completely clear, but it seems likely, which means there is a potential for running two Warfronts at the same time, potentially giving access to chests from that weekly quest reward if they have separate quests. Remember, rewards here stay the same, just assume a bump in item level to match the new raid and all the new content, while the other side of the fence, the other faction, will have two zones to kill rares in. Now, as time goes on, that will probably mix and match. You have a week where the Alliance get to play Darkshore, while Stormguard is still on the contribution phase, and by the time Darkshore ends, the other faction gets the contribution phase for the Darkshore Warfront and go for it, while the Alliance goes for Stormguard. So it will be possible for both factions to be running Warfronts at the same time, just two different ones, especially as time goes on and other Warfronts will come in. So on top of the extra potential Azeroth from the turn-ins and two weekly chests, again potentially, and rares, there will also be a new world boss to kill, so all the loot you can get now will basically double when this new Warfront comes in. With that all clear, what about the Warfront itself? Well, first of all, currently in the PTR, only the Alliance has gained access to it, so it's going to be from its perspective. That said, I imagine the Horde side of things won't change too much, just different set of buildings and units, much like is with Stormguard, with the orcs and the humans. So the first thing that will be apparent and quite different is the first few minutes. In Stormguard was just jump in and kill the commander and immediately gets the Warfront to play. Now here, you're gonna be more on a lengthy scenario. As Alliance, you start up in the area which used to be the old questing area back in from vanilla days and was all destroyed due to the cataclysm, and you're just cleaning out all the Forsaken forces and all their blight machinery in efforts to save the Ancients, which you're gonna need to farm the bulk of your base. Now, this was quite cool and felt different from the other Warfronts. It felt almost like a mob scenario for a little bit, so yes, it was fun the first time, but I imagine the fourth, the fifth, it might get super boring to do and quite a nuisance. And before I move forward, I just got to say that the zone is indeed quite gorgeous. It did receive a graphical update, not as huge as Arathi did, but still quite substantial. A lot of the old assets like trees are still vanilla style ones, but the zones slightly change to accommodate the Warfront. All the new assets in place, like the buildings, bridges, and new textures, do indeed look great. The lighting and the giant moon do look exceptionally amazing. Now the base building is slightly changed as well. The buildings are the same, exactly the same, just fitting the theme of your race. So for the Night Elves, is very Warcraft 3 influenced. You get typical Night Elf buildings, but the Ancients make part of it as well, so it's a nice little throwback. The other change is more gameplay based and not so visual, is how your resources play out here. So here wood is more valuable than iron. In fact, the mine here starts off as neutral and occupied by Nagab. You want to cap it, but it won't provide anywhere near as much as the mine in Arathi did with the cards. The reason for that is that wood is the main resource. If you want to get troops, is with wood, not with iron. The buildings do need it, and the first time I did a Warfront, iron was hard to come by because the chest that steadily gives you resources only gave wood. The only way to get iron was by killing enemies, specifically shredders and other machines, but the second time I did, a couple of days later, the chest was indeed giving iron and wood, which made it so much easier. The wood gathering works a little bit differently as well, since you Night Elves, chopping trees goes against their life code or whatever, so after capturing the mill or the grove, the way to get wood is to get the wisps to go out there and get it for you. They will drop it at the tree's feet so you can pick it up, and there's a lot to gather, so very fun times. For the Horde variant, I imagine this is done through the shredders. As for the units, which I mentioned, like the buildings, it's just reskins. They do the same, cost the same except wood. The only different units you get is the special ones from the altar. In Stormguard you had the super OP mode that you could randomly get the buff. Here the same, but you have a choice of transforming to one of those Keeper of the Groves, a Fairy Dragon, or a Dyrad. But besides that, the same. Instead of a Kodo, there's a Chimera Dragon. Instead of an Elemental, there's an Ancient to fight for you. And I'm sure the Horde has a Forsaken variant or a Goblin type of machine variant to match those new units, because it's not just Forsaken based on the Horde side, there's a lot of Goblin tech here, as you will see later. Now, what about the objectives in the rest of the gameplay? Well, it is the same also. Build the base, build the buildings in that specific order that allows you to build the siege weapons, which this time is glaive throwers, to destroy the defensives, to eventually fight the boss and win. Again, the Horde variant is probably some goblin machine or one of those Forsaken catapults. But there's some slight twists. The bases are placed slightly differently. For one, they are much closer together. They are far more compact, which decreases travel time, which for me, less time to be in one Warfront is always a plus, right? But there are different locations, and the fact that they are rather close together, it allowed for slightly different plans of attack. Instead of always going forward, it somewhat encouraged you to either attack from the front or the sides, which is not a huge difference, but added a bit more flavor. But again, the bases are the same. You get the one really close to the base, you get the elements-based one, you get the middle one that offers the fly path, small twists, but again, just the same thing. After that, instead of the towers, you get the giant A-mod robots. And not gonna lie, it looked really cool, quite daunting as well to just look ahead and see these massive robots and a fleet of first-second ships. Actually, in general, the stakes of the Warfront feel much higher here. As a Night Elf, you are kinda trying to retake the zone, so lore-wise is a little bit better as well. But yeah, they are just like the towers that you need the vehicles to destroy, or the glaive throwers with the base to capture at the end. And after that, there's also another slight twist. Instead of a gate, this time are boats, but they are destroyed by actual players. I know, we actually get to do something. This time we get to steal the enemy bats and other flying things to destroy the boat, to be able to actually fly there in hippogriffs to the goblin oil rig thing and kill the boss. So again, mostly the same, slight twist, slightly more fun. As for the Horde variant, I imagine you get the giant ancients to destroy or something like that. Now, as I said, thematically, visually, even the reason why we are there, so the stakes of the Warfront, are better and really great, especially the visual side. I really love the aesthetics, be the zone, the Night Elf armies, the Forsaken / Goblin forces are really cool to see, the giant robots, the ancients. All of that is really cool looking, especially with the new graphical updates. However, gameplay is still pretty much what you know and dislike, with very slight improvements. So I would prefer to do this one over Stormguard, but it's still quite a boring piece of content with all the negatives, as you come to know, unfortunately. But at least doing it one time, I dare say it's fun, especially after that questline that sets it up. It kind of completes the story and the quest. As for the rewards, expect the same as the previous ones, basically just gear, unless they decide to add something else to it, but as far as I know, it's just gear. But now it's themed around both Night Elves and Forsaken, so you have this really cool looking armor depending on your faction, so it might be worth even if it's just for the T-Mog, but you might be able to also get it from other PvP sources. So yeah guys, do let me know what you all think about this new Warfront. Do you despise it as much as the other and just want to watch it burn? Or God forbid, you actually enjoy it. Do let me know that and more in the comment section. As always, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to get more videos like this, and check out my Patreon if you wish to support the channel. Have a fantastic day everyone, and I'll see you all next time. See ya.